if now our emotions and our physical symptoms are out of control, we no longer have the connection of where it originated from, and we start to try and diagnose those symptoms of that current moment for what they are without having that scientific knowledge of the anxiety, because it's actually been occurring for longer. And that's why we are at this stage where we're at now, with those physical and emotional problems that we're experiencing. So it's really important to have the overview of how everything works. So then over time, you can start piecing things together. If you start to see patterns that when you are anxious for most of your days, that maybe it affects and starts to stem into your sleep where you're awake for most of the night. And that way, rather than you trying to tackle the sleep with different medications, tablets, whatever it is that you're used to, that you tackle the anxiety and the mindset beforehand, before tackling the sleep, because it's originally coming from the state of anxiety and not actually that you just can't sleep for no reason. Okay, so I want to take you to the 4 stages of anxiety, and I really want to talk to you quickly about thought process. So anxiety starts off with a thought at all times. That's the only reason why anxiety happens, because anxiety is a physical response of an emotional trigger that has stemmed from our thought process. Okay, and most of the time, this thought process is lingering in our subconscious mind, and it's based on the past and the future. It is not based on the moment there and then, in that present moment. So I'll say that again. Anxiety stems from our thoughts that lingers in our subconscious mind. So our subconscious mind is 95% active throughout the day. The subconscious mind is what makes you know how to brush your teeth without even thinking about it, know how to tie your shoelaces, know how to get in your car and drive to a specific destination, or drive overall, know how to get up and make your coffee that you make every single day, or that specific breakfast that you make every single day. Your subconscious does not need consciousness and activeness in order to function. It's already got the information stored like a program, and it will just play out what it needs to do because it knows it does that all the time. Okay, so what else lingers in your subconscious? A lot of emotion that may be associated with things that have happened to you before. For example, fear. So you might have a fear of time. You might have a fear of time being, if you're late to places. You might have a fear or an insecurity about how you feel about yourself. You might have a fear of the stage. You might have a fear of talking, using your voice, being vocal. You might have a fear of being in social bubbles, speaking to people outside, and that's what's making you more an introverted person. So all of these thought processes, those thoughts that linger, that sometimes you think, why am I thinking like this? I don't want to be like this. They are all stored in your subconscious mind that has basically been programmed to be this way because it's been doing it for a long period of time. Okay, your conscious mind is 5% of the day. So your conscious mind is the one that makes decisions on the spot. It's the one that, for example, if you burn yourself in that moment, if you touch the stove and it's really hot and you react and you have to take your hand away, that's your conscious mind being active and preparing you for that moment. The subconscious mind is only active usually 5% of the day in majority of the population, which is actually horrific. We should be using a lot more percentage of our conscious mind because it will help us stem away from things like anxiety and stress and overthinking, overloading in our brains. But we'll get onto that in a moment. So with our thought process, I'm going to use examples of trading. Let's say, for example, we've just put on a trade and it's fluctuating between loss and profit at the moment. And it's been like that for a good 20 minutes. So let's say if you've had a trigger before where you've had losses and it's caused you to lose your whole account, or it's caused you to lose more money than you had desired, and now you're starting to feel worried about it. So what happens is, rather than you just placing a trade and knowing that in that moment right there, it still doesn't have an outcome, it's still in a process, it has not reached a loss or a profit yet. If your brain has been triggered and has feared something from the past and is now trying to think that in the future it will go into a loss because you've had those experiences before, you're going to start getting a physical response. Okay, this is why a lot of us guys, when we see those fluctuations happening for long periods of time, even if it's for 2 minutes, because it does happen, or sometimes it might be for 2 hours that the trade is on, we start getting that resistance, that tension. Our hands start getting tight. Our chest starts feeling tight. We might not be able to breathe as best as we can because our heart is racing and we can hear it pumping in our head. So all of those experiences that you've got around that trade is happening because your thought process from your subconscious mind is leading from the past. So your trigger, which is I've been here before, I've lost a lot of money from being in a loss. And then your future, which is it's going to go into a loss because you don't have that confidence because of what's happened to you in the past. Okay, so please cement this in your brain. Your anxiety stems from your past or future thought processes, and all of this lingers in your subconscious mind. Now, if you were to use your conscious mind whilst that trade is on, just to give you a comparison, your brain would do absolutely nothing and take the fluctuation for it is what it is, because it hasn't had an outcome yet. It's still in the process. And in that present moment, nothing has happened whatsoever. Okay, you are still in the process of the trade. It has not received its outcome yet. So there is nothing to fear, worry about, feel triggered by, absolutely nothing. So the longer that we use that conscious mind and being able to take things face value and give that it is what it is moment, we don't have the physical response that leads to this fight or flight, with the nervous system going into a bit of a rage, into that survival mode that we spoke about earlier. Okay, so when you are in, or when you're experiencing those symptoms, try and take yourself, so you as a person, detach yourself from what's happening. Use that word that's going to provide you a little bit of humor. For example, in my case, Pingu, and start asking Pingu, what is happening here? Pingu, why are you here today? Pingu, why have you become so outraged right now? Why are you giving me all these symptoms? What has happened in my brain? Why have you provided me with this experience right now? And over time, the more you practice detachment, you're able to start dissecting where the anxiety is coming from, because you're now using your conscious brain to decide, to observe, to understand. Okay, so what I want to just take you through here, so we've got here one of the pages already, past, present and future, which you'll be able to read a bit further, basically what I've just explained. What I'd like to get into before I finish for today is this chart here. Okay, sorry it's on its side. I'm sure that you'll be able to still see it. When we are dissecting anxiety and observing it, it's very important to start journaling every single time that you experience these symptoms. Okay, so what we're going to do here, which is your homework for today and for the foreseeable future, and I really hope that you guys can actually use this full effectively, because it will absolutely help you know what is lingering in your subconscious brain. So you'll be able to pull and extract those thoughts and bring them to your conscious mind so you can actually work with them and demolish them, which will then essentially demolish anxiety. So I've put here a few columns. We've got the date, the time, location, duration. So the date in which the anxiety has happened, the time, the location. So where were you when you received those symptoms, when you started experiencing them? How long did they last for? What was I doing whilst I was experiencing anxiety? So you can write as many things down as possible. For example, you can write, I was drinking my coffee, I was watching TV, I was on the phone to a friend, I was sitting in the living room, I was sitting on the chair in the living room rather than the sofa. Maybe I was sitting on the floor. Absolutely everything of what you were doing in that moment when you experienced anxiety. The last thought. This is the best part of this, because sometimes we don't even know what the last thought is. So it's okay to write, I don't know, because that's where we're trying to get to, is to find out what that last thought was. Any additional notes? So as much as you can, when you've experienced anxiety, you want to write as much of information as you can, because what we're going to do is every single time you're experiencing this and journaling, over a period of a few weeks, you will be able to see a pattern. There will be a pattern that's created in the anxiety that you're experiencing, and you'll be able to start dissecting that pattern. And so please have a go at this journal, okay? Especially with trading. So when we are trading and we have an active trade and it's fluctuating and it's causing us to have all these symptoms, which something that I've suggested before in the group is to ask yourself, what would I be doing right now if this trade wasn't on? Okay, because what you're doing is bringing your brain into the present moment. So you're thinking and deciding what you would have been doing at that moment in time if that trade hadn't been on. And it could be that you would have been on the phone to a friend. It could be that you would have been catching up with work on your laptop, on your phone. It could be that you would be out with someone. It could be that you would be cooking, making a coffee. Whatever it is, go and do it. Have that trade on and go and do whatever you can in that time. Possibly you might not be able to be on the phone, or you might not be able to go to a meeting. Whatever it is, go and do the simple little thing that you would be doing if that trade wasn't on. Even if it's something as I would be on my Instagram looking at someone's page. Okay, because you want to put yourself in the present moment as much as you can, remembering that anxiety comes from the past and it comes from the future of thoughts that are lingering in your subconscious. So we want to reduce as much as possible how much our brain is concentrated in the past, on the past and in the future, and bring it to this present moment to start reducing those symptoms that we feel when we're experiencing anxiety. Now, just before I go, I do want to say that this is a huge technique that is used in therapy. So when people are having panic attacks, a lot of counselors, therapists, what they like to do is tell their client to point out things in the room. And it could be something like, for example, now I could say flowers by the window, a vase by the window, lights, cream walls, blue walls, a necklace, a ring, a jumper. And what you're doing is bringing your brain to this present moment and pointing out the things around you, so your brain has something to concentrate on that has nothing to do with the past and the future. And you can do this practice as many times as you want until it gets cemented in the brain. Because what's amazing about this is the more times you teach your brain how to become of another nature, the more it just happens, because just happens automatically, because then it's a new way of being that gets stored in your subconscious. So then you have a new way of thinking, a new way of acting, behaving, and feeling. All right. So pointing out little things that are around you. You can say even things like, my name is B and I'm looking at my phone. My name is B and I am looking at my laptop. And that will give an activation in your brain to concentrate on those simple things, which will completely demolish and reduce all the emotional triggers that you would have felt previously. So have a go at these little tips here. Let me know how you get on, and I appreciate you for watching, and sorry that it's been in a few parts. Hopefully in the next one I'll be able to do one full one without having to break it in a few parts into few pieces. Okay, good night guys, take care.